It's Thursday, June 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to find out what's on the agenda for tonight's Town Council meeting with Town Council President Eric Steinhuber. We'll also catch up with Town Manager Mark Els, and finally, we'll chat with State Representative Will Crocker. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Community service officers will return to Main Street this summer. 10 community service officers will be working with the Barnstable Police Department. The CSOs will act as liaisons between police officers, business owners, tourists, and residents. The CSOs will begin training June 5th and will begin patrolling Main Street Saturday, June 10th. Barnstable High School will honor staff, students, and former students that have recently passed away. The school will dedicate a plaque that lists each of their names during a ceremony in the school's memorial garden. The dedication will feature poetry and music. Refreshments will be served. In the case of heavy rain, the ceremony will be moved inside to the night auditorium. All are welcome to attend. The event will be held Thursday, June 8th at 5:30. Well, kids won't have to go hungry this summer. That's thanks to a new program being offered at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. The Food for Kids program will run from June 26th through August 25th. The program will offer free lunch from 12:15 to 1 and a free snack from 3 to 3:30. That's Monday through Friday. Assistant Recreation Director John Gleason and Youth Center Manager Mark Bordley worked very hard to bring that program to the HYCC. For more information, you can contact the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Well, it's just about time to head to the beach, but before you do that, you need to make sure you have your beach parking permit. You can pick up those parking permits at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Beach parking permits can be purchased from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 9 a.m. to noon on Sundays and holidays. Beach parking permits cost $40 per resident. Up next, we'll talk with Town Manager Mark Els. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mark. It must have been a really great week for you last week. Andy Clyburn, new assistant town manager, starting.
Oh,
that must
absolutely.
feel great.
Absolutely. I'm glad he's here. He did exactly what I would hoped he would do, which was, on his own initiative, go out there and begin to interact with our staff and our community. And, he took inside Town of Barnstable government to kind of get a crash course on, Town of Barnstable municipal government. And
that shows a lot of commitment on his part to start really becoming involved in the Town of Barnstable months before he even began his role.
Absolutely, and as I've said before, I use the word complex, but we are a complex organization and community, and nobody can walk in, even people who work here. Even when I moved into the town manager position, I thought I knew everything when I was in prior roles, but each time you move into a new role, you realize how how complex we are, how many issues there are, how many areas you might have to get involved in and bring a different skill set each time you go in and try to make a decision or interact with whomever's involved. So he's done a great job. He stepped right up. He certainly brings all the strengths that he demonstrated during the selection process. Good decision making, good communication. Just a personable guy that you'll enjoy working with.
And he is such a personable guy. And I have to say, he's been traveling around. I've seen him multiple times interacting with different town employees, meeting everyone in different departments. So really great to see that interaction too with staff.
Absolutely, and we've got a lot to do coming up in the next year. We have we have a lot on our plate with the normal issues, and then we're going to be looking at our infrastructure. We're going to be we're heading into another major planning round for comprehensive water management planning. Basically looking at where we need to treat water in our community, wastewater, regular, normal water, drinking water rather. And that's a huge effort. We're looking at non-residential zoning, so basically commercial zoning within the community, not just in the growth incentive zone in Hyannis, but out through the Route 132 corridor. I'm sure we'll extend it onto West Main Street and all other areas so that we can really put in place a more streamlined, modernized zoning proposal that we would obviously have to go to planning and then back to council and ultimately approve. So, we've got that. There's a whole bunch of workshops we want to do with our town council. Everything from, pay as you throw. Are we or aren't we going to move in that direction? To looking at our marina and our dredge program. We've done a comprehensive assessment of all of our waterways in town, and as part of that, you begin to look at, okay, where does routine maintenance need to occur? Has it occurred? What's our backlog? What are we projecting into the future? What's the cost of doing that? And then how are we going to do it? And so we really need to have fiscal policy type discussions relevant to, well, is this going to be from the general fund and taxes? Is this going to be from user fees for people who use it? What other opportunities might be out there? So again, we have a great working relationship with the council, so I'm glad Andy's here to help me with all of this. And that's just a couple of items that we're doing. We have a lot going on in the next 12 months, and it's all positive, so that's a good thing.
And speaking of being busy at work, it's budget season. Hopefully town council will wrap up the budget tonight. If not, there's still another meeting in June that has time. But they've really made quick work of the budget. That was a pretty smooth process with the, I think we're halfway through the operating budget and the capital improvement plan is done. So,
absolutely, it's especially. This year's a little more complicated because of some of the restructuring we've done both within the budget and within our organizational structure. So that adds to what is, it's a process that you really have to review, think about, ask appropriate questions, and then make a decision as to whether to approve it or not on the part of the council, certainly. And so we hope that we'll move through a majority of it or all of it this evening. We start out with reg services, and we do a building department, which is a newly created department, and then we move into public works. And then we come back to more administrative departments and closed out with some of our fixed costs. So Mark Minn will do that end portion of the budget as he always does. So.
Well, good luck tonight. Hopefully it's a nice smooth sailing meeting for you all, and it doesn't last too long. You never know.
Well, the day started out great.
It did.
It's a beautiful sunny morning.
Beautiful.
So let's hope the whole day goes that way.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Well,
All
thanks
right.
for dropping by this morning, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, our guest today, Town Manager Mark Ells. Up next, we're going to find out what's on the agenda for tonight's Town Council meeting with Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Joining me now, Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Eric, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you guys are about to complete the budget. You're going to hopefully finish up work on the proposed FY18 operating budget this week.
Yeah, it's our hope to finish up tonight, but we also have a June 15th meeting as well. But tonight's meeting, we'll probably take some things out of order. We'll look at new business first, and there's some things outside of the operating budget that we just want to make sure we get done before we get into all the budget presentations, and that way it's a little bit easier. If we do run late, we don't have to. We've already got some of the other things off our table, so we can just move some budget items forward to the 15th if we need to.
Great. And looking at the items under new business, one of the items is an appropriation order for community preservation funds. This is for $175,000 for the acquisition of a conservation restriction and some land for the Barnstable Land Trust. Can you talk to me a little bit about this item?
You're talking about item 145?
146.
146. Yep, that's over on Church Street, which is off kind of diagonally off of 6A. This is something we had the first read last week, and then we'll be having the public hearing this meeting. Well, I shouldn't say last week, 2 weeks ago. And we'll have the public hearing on that tonight. But that's open space land, about 3.5 acres, that's been brought forward through the CPC committee. And we'll hopefully we'll see how that goes. But it's open space land to acquire. It'll have a conservation restriction on it.
Yeah, and then I see another item too for community preservation funds. This one for $243,000. This is for the U.S. Custom House and Carriage House. Do you know anything about this item?
Yep, that's down in Barnstable Village. It's where there's a Coast Guard museum in there, and the Tracy Museum. That's I think this is probably the third year there's been some work done on that building. They had to do the whole facade over. It's a building that used to many years ago when people would come into the harbor and into Barnstable Village. That was the custom house. Is kind of where you would check in. So obviously a very old building. If you might see some old paintings of Barnstable Village, looking down what is 6A now. There's kind of a famous painting that a lot of people have in their homes, actually. But the church is there across the street, and the custom house. And this building's been there a long time. So very meticulous, renovation to go through there. There was water getting in at some point, so a lot of the facade and the brickwork had to be redone. But obviously trying to keep with the time period as well.
And then, of course, and sorry, I had misread, that was actually in the budget items. That is included in the operating budget proposal. Skipping back to new business, as I attempted to do so earlier,
Sure.
Want to talk to you about a couple things. 2 grants. I'm gonna guess you're gonna take these out of order. Maybe deal with these first. These are some grants for the police department, which are really important. One of the grants for $2,500. This is for bike safety, and then another about $5,000 for underage drinking prevention. So those are 2 really important grants. You guys will hopefully pass this evening.
Yep. Yeah, we'll take those. We'll take the new business out of order, and these tend to be annual grants that come forward this time of year. And, we're always happy to support the police department. They do a great job of finding these grants and getting the grants written and submitted, and there's others that come forward this time of year, like bulletproof vests and monies that can be used on new radios for the cars. And we obviously want the police department to have the best equipment and the best technology that it possibly can.
Yeah, and they're so great over there writing grants and getting those grants. Amazing to see that happen.
That's fabulous about that. And the Blue Coats is a great group as well. That does some fundraising and helps support the police department as well, the private group.
And then I do see here in new business there is a proposal to purchase a van for the community services department in the budget. I think is that for a van? Yes.
Yep, personnel budget for community services. And there'll be a new van for the recreation division to be able to move folks around. I think that's $35,500.
And that looks like that's going to be referred to a public hearing on the 15th as well. So
that may be acted upon.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Wonderful. Good to know.
And then we have some appointments, a couple of first reads on appointments to committees. We're always looking for folks to step forward and vacancies on the numerous committees that we really rely on to be advisory to the council.
Yeah, a lot of reappointments and new additions I see here. So the appointments committee has been hard at work, it looks like.
Yes, they definitely have.
Well, thank you for going on. Anything else you want to talk about that's going to be on the agenda for this evening's meeting?
Well, there's a number of budget items. We'll be working. We have a lot of public works, DPW, so that'll be the bulk of the items that we'll discuss. That obviously runs the full gamut of various DPW functions. We'll be looking at employee benefits, the building department, regulatory services. So hopefully we do get through the rest of these budget orders. Like I said, if we need a little bit more time, we have June 15th, and folks may be aware, but this is for the next fiscal year, so everything needs to be passed by June 30th, because we roll into a new fiscal year on July 1st.
That's right. Well, good luck to you tonight. Hopefully you can get through that full list. And like you said, if not, it'll just be continued to the 15th. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
Talk
have
to
a
you
good
soon.
one. All right, bye-bye. My guest today, Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Now let's find out what's happening on Beacon Hill with State Representative Will Crocker. So Will, thank you so much for dropping by today. I want to talk a little bit about the budget season. I think the Senate just finished their work, and now what? Now what happens?
Senate just finished their work on a little more than a $40 billion budget, slightly more than what the House sent to the Senate. There are a few more items that the Senate has added. And what happens now is that because the two budgets don't agree, there'll be a House-Senate conference committee that will take the matter up and come up forge a budget that is agreeable to both the House and the Senate. And then once that is voted on, it'll go to the governor for his signature, hopefully.
So kind of keeping an eye out on some of those state revenues. I know the state revenues maybe aren't looking as good as they thought, so not really sure really how the budget will fall exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is that our revenues generated from taxes have been falling below the benchmarks for some time now, for the first 5 months of this calendar year. And everyone is very much concerned that we're just not going to be able to have the money to be able to fund the budget the way it has been presented by the House and the Senate.
So, this is an interesting process. I think what happens if revenues fall short, then the governor would have to come in with some 9C cuts. Is that right?
He would. He'd have to do that again because we have to maintain a fiscal budget. We have to have a balanced budget. And we are finishing up the end of the fiscal year. It ends the end of June. But we have to maintain a balanced budget, and if that means that more cuts are going to have to be made, then more cuts will have to be made. The governor made 9C cuts back in December. A very good number of services down here in the Cape and Islands were hit. We hope that doesn't happen again, but unless revenues take a drastic uptick, we have some big concerns about the budget at this point.
So we'll keep an eye on that and definitely ask you some more questions in the future about how that plays out. I want to talk to you too. I know you're going to be attending the Mid-Cape Cultural Council Grantee Awards event this week. You'll be speaking a little bit about arts and culture on the Cape. Yeah,
they've asked me to speak a little bit about what culture means to me, and I thought about that for a while, and I said, I think we could talk about two things. What culture and the arts here on the Cape, and I want to also combine that with the 100th anniversary of the birth of President Kennedy, and speak a little bit about how President Kennedy brought arts and culture to the White House in a way that had never been done before. Maria Callas, the great opera singer, was at the White House. Pablo Casals, the great cellist, was brought to the White House. There were all different forms of arts and entertainment that the Kennedys brought to the White House, and arts and culture had been on the stage at the White House in a way that had never been done before. And I thought, what a great idea to be able to link those two ideas together, arts and culture and the 100th anniversary of the birth of President Kennedy. And that's what I'll be speaking about.
Yeah, so interesting. And as we know, arts and culture are such a draw for so many people. I think sometimes people forget how important arts and culture is to even our local economy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can debate the figure about how much a dollar brings in. Some people say it's $7 for every $1 expended. Some people say less, but whatever, it's a plus sum. You can debate whatever it is, but it brings in more money than it expends. And culture and tourism and arts here in the Cape, you know, it's our number one. It's our number one business here in the Cape, and we have to promote that. We have to be able to get that out to our summer visitors.
That's right. Such an important. Speaking of summer, very exciting. This busy summer season. Are you excited about the busy summer season?
I am very excited. One of the things that I like to do is to go out on Sandy Neck, go out and spend the day on Sandy Neck, and I look forward to doing that this summer. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It is the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful spots I think in the whole world, Sandy Neck. We love it.
It's a great time to just go out there and just enjoy the ocean, enjoy the beach, enjoy the people who are around, and just take it easy.
That's right. So hopefully we'll all enjoy it. Hopefully once the rain gets through,
all right,
we can enjoy that. Hopefully we'll be feeling that summer weather sooner than later. Thank you so much, Will, for dropping by today. We really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting with you again in a couple weeks.
Well, thank you very much again for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Our guest today, of course, is State Representative Will Crocker. Let's find out what's happening in our community calendar with Megan Mamlock.
Are you looking for a fun activity where your child or young person you know can benefit from learning about clamming? The 15th annual Fun-Filled Clamming Classes for Kids is being hosted by the Barnstable Natural Resource Program. Well, there will be 3 opportunities for young people to experience and learn how to clam with the natural resource staff on Saturday, June 24th at 7 a.m., Sunday, June 25th at 7 a.m., and Wednesday, June 28th at 9:30. All dates will be at the Bridge Street Landing, Osterville. For more information, call the Marine and Environmental Affairs Division. If you love turtles, mark your calendars because the Barnstable Natural Resource Program will be releasing diamondback terrapins at the Sandy Neck on Tuesday, June 27th at 4 p.m. Those attending this free event, there will be parking available at Sandy Neck Beach and meet at the Gatehouse to hear a short talk on the terrapin program and then walk down to the Marsh Trail to see the site where the terrapins will be released back into the wild. And the Town Council meeting meets tonight at 7 in the Town Hall hearing room. That meeting will air live on Channel 18. Now back to you, Sarah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we're going to learn about a concert that will help raise money to support music programs at Cape Cod schools. We're going to chat with Recreation Director Patty Machado, and we'll chat with Assistant Harbor Master Jared Smoller. He's going to tell us all about the Pump Out program. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.